Abba Yahuwah, I just want to praise you and I just want to thank you for this day, my Father. I thank you that we truly are living in the most exciting time. Abba, I thank you that, when the enemy comes in like a flood, that you yourself raise a standard against him. And the enemy comes to want to steal, to kill, to destroy. The enemy wants to come and specifically bring murder in our lives. But I praise you and I thank you, Father, that you are the life giver. That you are the one that comes and gives life. The enemy is always wanting to speak death. Death over us. Death over everything. It's death, death, death. That's why you say life and death is in the power of the tongue. And that is why we need to speak life, because everything that comes from you comes with life. But the enemy is always trying to bring destruction and to bring death. And so, Father, this is a very, very powerful command as we understand the command of thou shalt not murder. And there's different ways of us being able to murder, because when we look at a command, thou shalt not murder, we automatically think, well, we are not to kill. But we have not understood the fullness of this command. But I thank you, my Father, that you are going to be able to come and open up to us the fullness of this command, so that we may be able to be in the understanding of what does it mean that you are trying to tell us, by being able to understand exactly what this is about. And we are going to get a bigger picture from all different angles for you to be able to show us what it is that you want to reveal to us, as we need to understand these commands in a much deeper depth than what we understand, in order for us to understand, are we truly walking out the truth of these commands, or are we in rebellion against you? And Father, this command truly does open up in so many different ways to us, because you have said that in our mouths we have power, that creation was created by what you spoke into being, and what we speak carries power. And we need to understand that the tongue is like a little rudder, and this is why we've got to be so careful what we speak out of our mouths, because truly your word says life and death is in the power of the tongue. And that is why this will be our next test that is coming, because for every command that we are walking out, there is a test being put before us to make sure that we are going to overcome the tests that are there, to be able to make sure that we understand, are we truly walking out your commands? But you see, for us to understand the power of what comes out of our mouths, we are to understand that it all starts where the enemy has a playground. The enemy has a playground, and the playground is the playground of our mind. So it all starts with a thought. And eventually, that thought becomes our words. And then we can't understand why it eventually becomes the action that comes into fulfillment. So what we think is eventually what we will believe, which will eventually be what will play out, which will eventually be what will be manifested. And so, Father, I praise and I thank you, Father, that you came to give us life, life in abundance. But what does the enemy come to bring? The enemy that comes with the darkness is always bringing death, always wanting to destroy, bring death, and it brings that with the thought to be able to speak the thing so that the person can start to doubt in their mind that which you have spoken, which is exactly what we saw happening in the Garden of Eden. All Eve needed to do was to just have a word spoken to bring a doubt in her heart, in her mind. And then she was deceived. So, Abba Yahuwah, I praise you and I thank you, my Father, that you open up to us this very powerful command for us to understand that we have choices to make in our lives. And like you said, life and death is spoken of a lot in the Word. And you said, I set before you life and death. Choose life. Life if you obey. Curse if you disobey. And so, Father, may we have the fuller understanding of this command for us to truly be able to walk in obedience to everything that you have for us in this time that we find ourselves in. And Father, please, I pray, help us, my Father. Help us in those areas where we fall short, so that we may truly be those that overcome. I praise and I thank you for this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Praise Abba Yahuwah. So we are looking at the 6th command. 6, very significant number 6. And we are going to look at what is this 6th command that the Father is wanting to be able to reveal to us today. Because every command is laying a foundation for us to be able to help us to understand what was the 6th day of creation. What is the 6th plague? What is the 6th command? And how does it all come together? For us to be able to have the bigger revelation of what the Father is trying to show us. And so on the 6th, let's look at Exodus chapter 20. And Exodus chapter 20, just a very small little few words. And in the 6th command is, you do not murder. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. You do not murder. And so we are going to look at this as the Father is wanting to expound on it, because there's so much just in this command alone for us to understand. And that is why He wants us to be able to embark on this journey with Him, to be able to open up to us the understanding, going deeper in what we need to understand of this command. And it's so sad because so many people have already bowed down in this command, in what they allow in their bodies. And that is why now is the hour where we really, really, really need to be shaken to be able to understand what is the Father wanting of us in this hour. So, we are going to first look at Exodus chapter 9. We are first going to look at the actual plague, and then we are going to look at the day of creation, what the Father is saying there, and then we're going to link everything up to what the Father is trying to show us in this command. So we are going to look at Exodus chapter 9, and we're going to look at it from verses 7. And in Exodus chapter 9, verses 7, it says, Then the Pharaoh sent, and see, not even one of the livestock of Israel was dead, but the heart of the Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. It is very, very, I received a very powerful message on a hard heart. When the Father keeps speaking, and the Father keeps speaking, and the Father brings messages from different angles and different ways, and yet we harden our hearts because we don't want to hear. We rather switch off the voice to not hear what the Father's saying because we don't want to change. So it's easy to switch off the voice. I don't want to hear that voice. I don't want to hear that person speak. I don't want anything to do with this. Why? Because at the end of the day, the Father is speaking through the voice, which is His voice at the end of the day. But we choose to switch it off because of the hardness of our own hearts. Because many times, that which the Father speaks through His mouthpieces is not always what people want to hear. It's not an easy message. And depending on what is in our own hearts, we judge it and say, I don't want to hear that. But what we don't realize is we are busy hardening our hearts against not the person, because the person is just an instrument. It's the same as, how can one get upset with a postman who brings a letter? So the postman is bringing the letter. The letter is what you receive. You receive a letter. How can you get upset with the postman? The postman only delivered the letter. But there was somebody that sent the letter. And the one who sends the letter is the Father. And then we are just instruments in His hands to deliver what He wants. But you see, sometimes what we read and what we hear is not what we want to hear or read. Therefore, we come against the postman, the one who delivered the message. And this is always how it goes. And this is why there's so much persecution that always comes with when a message is delivered. Because why? You can come and people will always say to me, no, it's the way it is said. I can tell you now, you can say it in the sweetest way possible. You can say it in the most gentle way possible. Yet, if the person's heart is not right, they will receive it with ears that will hear it as hard. Why? Because the heart is hard. And this is exactly how my husband prayed. And he said, Father, let us be like the clay, and you be the potter that softens our hearts to receive. But we want to pray many other prayers, because to receive the Father's truth is not always easy, because it requires us to change. And do we really want to change when it stands against everything that my flesh is holding on to? And so therefore, it hardens our heart. Now, you've got to understand, Pharaoh was already a hard man. And now, understand, these people are his slaves. So why on earth is he going to want to let these people go? They are making beautiful statues for him. They are creating his empire for him. And it's all about his pride. So people with hard hearts, you must understand there's one thing that drives them more than anything, and that is pride. And what does the Father say? Pride comes before a fall. And it's the pride that stands against the Father. And the Father cast the devil out of the heavens because of his pride. Now, do we think that we can stand prideful, hardening our hearts against His word and His message because we don't want to submit to what He says? Then we will receive the judgment that will come our way, because pride comes before a fall. And these are the things that the Father is opening up for us to understand exactly what it is that He's saying in the hour that we are in. And so, as right now, we are looking at this plague, and we are understanding this command, thou shalt not kill. What are we going to look at? How all of this is going to come together, how all of this is going to fall in line with this very plague, with this very command. And so He says, and we were reading in verses 7, that the Pharaoh was hardened and he did not let the people go. And Yahuwah said to Moshe and Aaron, fill your hands with ashes. And Aaron, fill your hands with ashes from a furnace, and let Moshe scatter it towards the heavens before the eyes of the Pharaoh. So do you remember when the golden calf, what did he do? It had to come into ashes. And then what did he do? He got the people to drink that powder. And then from there, the killing started. Then from there, he said, now, go, start to kill your brothers, your sisters, your mother, your father. The Levites had to go, and 3,000 were killed in that day, as he brought that golden calf to ashes, because that ashes was part of their disobedience. That ashes represented their disobedience. And now he made them drink that ashes because of their disobedience. And so he tells them to now take the ashes from a furnace. So you see, there's got to be the fire of purging for there to be ashes. You must understand, ashes comes out of a fire. When we die, we are going to return back to ashes from where we came. So it's part of a death process. And if we are not purged by the fire, we are not going to come out on the other side like gold. Because we have to go through a fire to be purged and purified for us to be able to come out like the gold. And so that ashes must be blown. Now, I tell you, we've just had a manifestation of this. And so it says that, and it shall become fine dust in all the land of Mitzrayim, and that shall cause boils and break out in sores on man and beast and all the land of Mitzrayim. And they took ashes from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moshe scattered them towards the heavens, and they caused boils breaking out in sores on man and beast. Now understand, this was the 6th plague. Man and man's doing needs to come under judgment, because Father does not want man to stand in the way of what he's going to do. Everything that comes from man is going to fall to the ground. That's what we've got to understand. Because we have to understand that when we look at the 6th command, when we look at the 6th plague, when we look at the 6th day of creation, it's the number of when man was created. And that is why the Father, interesting, that this is what he's already bringing, these ashes in the plague. And then what does he do? In Exodus chapter 32, when they go, and now all of a sudden he goes and he comes down the mountain with the commands. And now he sees the golden calf. It's going to go through the fire, and then he gets them to be able to drink that. And so, did something happen to the people that were really responsible for what was going on? I don't know. What happened when they drank that? Because he made sure that he was going to be able to they brought it into dust. And you know that it's so interesting that there's archaeologists that have actually gone and excavated. They've gone and excavated there by the altar on Mount Sinai, the real Mount Sinai in Jabal al-Lawz. And they have gone and they have done archaeological research there. And you know what they have found? Gold dust. They have actually found gold particles in that dust underneath that altar. So that's why there's 100% proof, in more ways than one. As a matter of fact, even on that actual altar that they found there, there's engravings there of like a calf, hieroglyphic this kind of way of ancient writing of like a calf on there. And so that is why I'm saying that interesting how in this very time of when Moshe, so understand, the 5th plague and the 6th plague tied into each other. The 5th plague, animals were created, and that was like the beasts of the earth. And it is the god that was of the 5th plague was the head of a cow. Had the head of a cow. And it's a calf that was basically that they made, this golden calf, to be able to bring them out from where they were. So we have to understand that this, like I said, is tied in. These 2 plagues are basically tied in with each other. And so I'm just trying to see. Let us go and read here. Exodus chapter 32 from verse 19. And it came to be, as soon as he came near the camp, that he saw that the calf and the dancing. And Moshe's displeasure burnt, and he threw the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the floor of the mountain. And he took the calf which he had made and burnt it in the fire and ground it into powder and scattered it on the face of the water and made the children of Israel drink it. So interesting how that what they made was scattered in the water and they had to drink it. And it was after this that something happened, because isn't it interesting that when the husband of the wife, when there was to be a dispute between them whether she had committed adultery or not, that the man became jealous of her and she committed adultery, that then there was this test that she had to drink this substance. And then if her belly swelled, she was guilty. Interesting. And so could there have been something that happened from them drinking that then he gets to verse 26 and he says, and Moshe stood in the entrance of the camp and said, who is for Yahuwah? Come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves to him, and he said to them, thus says Yahuwah, Eloah of Israel, each one put his sword on his side, pass over to and fro from the gate to gate in the camp, and each one kill his brother, and each one his friend, and each one his relative. And the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moshe, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. And Moshe said, you are ordained for Yahuwah today, since each one has been against his son, his brother, so as to bring upon you a blessing today. We are going to understand that in these last days, Father is going to bring brother against brother, mother against daughter, father against son. Just like it was here, because this is what he says in Matthew. I have come to bring a sword. Because you see, there are those that are wanting, I am sure that not everybody was going to be dancing, doing this. I'm sure there were some that were standing there saying, this is not right. This is not right what we are doing here. I mean, they had just seen the manifestation of the Father. I mean, we pray. People pray. They get the manifestation of the Father. And then how do they behave straight after that? What did they do? Griped, moaned, complained. When they griped, they moaned, they complained. What happened? 3,000 have now died. Because now they needed another leader. They needed a golden calf. Because Moses is not there. Oh, sorry. And so this is when we understand that we've got to see how the Father is doing things. They wanted their way of how to be able to get out of where they were. Once again, man turning to the arm of the flesh. Now we see, how is it that they bring about this plague? How do they bring about this plague? The very way that they bring about this plague is the very way of how he got them to be able to drink this dust. They burnt this golden calf to powder, and then they had to drink that. And now he's speaking here, and he's saying, and it shall become fine dust in all the land, and it shall cause boils that break out in sores on man, beast, and all the land of Mitzrayim. Now, I tell you something. There is a plague that's going to come, that's going to break out on the people's skin, that will be like the boils. That's once again going to come upon the people. There is a plague that is coming, that is going to be like it was before, for the disobedient ones. And that is why I'm saying there is life, there is death. And we need to understand what is going to bring life, what is going to bring death. And this has to do with thou shalt not kill. And we will understand what it's all tied into. So we continue to read. So they took ashes from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moshe scattered them towards the heavens. And they caused boils breaking out in sores and on man and beast. And the magicians were unable to stand before Moshe because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians and on the Mitzrites. That's why I'm saying the fear of Yahuwah must come upon the people. Because if people are not going to start fearing Yahuwah, the plague is coming. And we have to start walking circumspectly before Him to understand man can no longer walk according to their own flesh in the days that are ahead of us. In the days that are ahead of us, if we continue to bow our knee to ISIS if we continue to bow our knee to the gods of Egypt to bring deliverance to us, we have to understand that at the end of the day, this is the thing that is going to take us out in the days ahead. We are going to have to walk very circumspectly before Him, because these things are going to present themselves. These plagues are presenting themselves. You must understand, and it's amazing, because just last night I was watching how Yochanan had sent me a whole lot of things that's been talking about this sting, this injection, and these things that are now playing out amongst the people that have actually bowed their knee to a system. And that is why we are going to start to see how these things are going to play out before us. And that is why I'm saying the Father is starting to bring a division. He is dividing those that are His from those that are not. He is going to show Himself to be strong, and He will reveal those that are His from those that are not. He will keep revealing. Keep revealing. Because it's coming in our faces now. It's going to be in our face. And so He says, and the magicians were unable to stand before Moshe because of the boils, and Yahuwah strengthened the heart of the Pharaoh. Do you think the Father doesn't know those that have a hardness of heart? And then we can't understand why we pray and we pray and we pray and we pray, and there doesn't seem to be any breakthrough. Because Father knows those that already have a hard heart. Because you just need to hear the speech for you to understand the hardness of the heart. Just like He already knew. We cannot say that it was the Father that hardened the Pharaoh's heart. We cannot say that. Father already knew the Pharaoh's heart. He already knew what the Pharaoh's heart was all about. We already knew it. He already knew it. And so, here we see how Abba brings a judgment against the next god of Egypt. And it is very important that we understand this next god. In this sixth plague, making up the sixth day of creation when man was created. And so if we look at this God, who is this God? This God is the god Isis. It's the Egyptian goddess of, listen, of what? Medicine and peace. Interesting. The very people that will be speaking peace on the earth, a false peace that must come upon the earth. These people that are going to speak to us and say, peace. We have a solution to bring the peace upon the earth. Because there's going to be turmoil, and we will have a solution of peace. And so this is why we have to understand what the Father is about to do in the hour that we are in. We are to understand this very, very clearly, because this is tied in with many, many things. It's tied in with many, many things, and this is what we've got to understand. Because all of this is going to tie in together with the things that are playing out in these end times. And that is why today it was just amazing, because, like I said, I've done this teaching before. But now the Father is opening up a new level, because we are in a deeper level of revelation that the Father wants to take us into. Father wants to take us into the deeper level of revelation. That is what He's doing in this hour. And so when we're really going to stand and we're going to look at this, we are going to understand how everything is going to come together to understand what Father is doing, what the devil is doing, and how we see the devil is always trying to take away the peace of the Father so that he can bring his false peace. So he creates, what is the enemy doing? Order out of chaos. And what is going to come in these last days? It's going to be the man of peace. Isn't it? So we've got to understand, all these things have already been playing out. The man of peace is what is on the cards. And this is why we've got to understand, it's going to be this peace. And interesting, what is this goddess of peace attached to? Medicine. So, they are going to want to bring a peace upon the earth by what they're giving mankind in order to bring peace. So, her name means Queen of the Throne. She is seen as the mother. She is the wife of Osiris. She was a virgin. Wow, interesting. Do we see a virgin? Do we hear about this virgin with a child? She's the one that is the virgin with a child. So when you see a virgin with a child, a mother Mary with a child, who is represented there? It's none other than the goddess Isis. It already comes back to the gods of Egypt, but now there is an entire group of people, an entire religious system that follow a mother, that follow a religion that has a mother with a baby. And this is not just in this religion, but it presents itself. A mother with a baby presents itself. If you go and do research into this, you will see that this mother and baby presents itself in other religions too. Because even in the Muslim religion, they very much respect Mother Mary. And they say she's the mother Mary that they also. So that's why they very already tied in with the Catholics, you understand. So she's the wife of Osiris. She was a virgin. She's the goddess with a child. And many times she's seen with wings of that of an eagle. So she's got the wings of an eagle. So understand, she camouflages herself as being an eagle. But we've got to understand, the eagle is not quite the eagle, because what is it? It's actually a phoenix bird. So many times I've seen this phoenix bird, and the phoenix bird looks exactly like the body, has got the body of the wings is exactly like the eagle, but the head is the head of a phoenix. And that's the counterfeit. That is the counterfeit thing. She brought humans back to life and welcomed the dead to afterlife. She was also a goddess over sun, moon, stars. So interesting. What is the very thing that, it's so sad. They always use the things of the Father. So this goddess of even of the Muslims, what do they use? They use a crescent moon. Now everybody turns around and says, oh, we're not to be able to keep the new moon calendar. Why? Because it's got a crescent moon. Because it comes from Islam. No. Before there was Islam, there was already the Father's crescent moon in the heavens. The Father is the one who created the heavens and the earth. It was not created by the enemy. The enemy uses everything that the Father presents us. The enemy uses everything that the Father gives us in order to bring the counterfeit out of it. That is exactly what the enemy does. The enemy will bring the counterfeit of the truth. And so, we will see that, she's the goddess over sun, moon, stars. She would be the brightest star. Interesting. Who is that brightest star? Yeshua is the bright morning star. He is the bright star. But what does the enemy want to raise himself up? The enemy is always wanting to put down those of the Father putting down everything and raise itself up, because that's pride, that's arrogance. It wants to raise itself up. It wants to put down that which is of the Father, the true ones of the Father. He wants to annihilate them and take them out, and he wants to raise himself up. He wants to make himself out to be the one that is the morning star. He wants to be seen as the star. He's the one that will have the wings of the eagle, but yet the head is the head of the phoenix bird. So it's the counterfeit. And so we got to understand that there's a counterfeit bride, and then there's a true bride. There's a counterfeit bride on the earth that is raising itself up, but yet it is not in submission and in surrender to the Father, but yet it's arrogant, and it's raising itself up in more arrogance and pride. That's what it does. And so she's the goddess that he wants to be this bright star. So if we go to Genesis chapter 1, let's go to Genesis chapter 1 to be able to tie in this, in order to be able to tie it in. Genesis. So we're going to go Genesis chapter 1, and we are going to read from verses 24. And it says, "And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living beings, according to its kind, livestock, creeping creatures, beasts of the earth, according to its kind. And it came to be so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creep on the earth according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image." So understand, we and the animals were both, all of us were created when? We were created on the sixth day. We were being created. We were created because this starts on the sixth day. So here we got us coming forth the same time as what man is being created. And it says, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And Elohim created the man in his image, and the image of Elohim he created him, male and female he created them. So we've got to understand that he has created them. He's created us in his image. And then he said, and Elohim blessed them. And Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fishes of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every creeping creature. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed to you. It is for your food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being, every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. And Elohim said to all that he had made, and said, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the sixth day. And now we read in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, and it says, but a mist, let's just read from verse 6. But a mist went up from the earth, and watered the entire surface of the ground. And Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of the dust from the ground, and breath into its nostrils, breath of lives, and the man became a living being. So do you see? Father took man out of the dust of the earth. Now interesting, what do we return back to when we die? We come to ashes. From dust you came, from dust you shall return. So we come back into ashes, which is dust. From that ashes of the fire, they take this ashes, they blow it into the air, and the boils come forth upon man. And now it is affecting man's body. Now it's not affecting just the animals. Now it's not affecting, it's not like it's just like flies, or it's not like it's just, the frogs that are there. It's not the river that's turned into blood. It's not the lice that has come. Now it's going to hit man's body. So understand, when that dust went up, then it starts to affect man's body. So do you understand? Many of our sicknesses that we have is due to rebellion against the Father. Because when that dust was going into the earth, when those ashes went into the sky, all of a sudden what was being affected, it was everything. It was the people, it was the livestock, it was everything being affected by this. Let's read it again, and it says, and the livestock, so it says, and the next day, all the livestock of the Mitzrayim died, and the livestock of the children of Israel, not one. And the Pharaoh said, and then that was the livestock, that was the fifth plague. That was the fifth plague. That was from the fifth plague. The livestock died. Then when you get, and Yahuwah said to Moshe and Aaron, and it shall be fine dust, and it shall cause boils, break out in sores on man, on beast, in the land of Mitzrayim. Now, it's not just affecting the livestock. Now, it is affecting even the people now. Now the people are starting to be infected. So that is why we've got to understand how this is all tied in together. How all of this is tied in together, where death comes upon our body because of what? Because of our own rebellion against the Father. When we are rebelling against the Father, death and decay will come. Death and decay comes from our own doing. That is why the Father has been taking us so far, for so long, to clean us up, to show us what is within us. Because these things manifesting on our bodies many times is because of our own hearts and our own rebellion against the Father. And what do we turn to for the healing? And that's what we're going to understand. We are going to turn to Isis. We are going to turn to this goddess of Pharmakia. We are going to turn to this goddess, as opposed to going on our knees and seeking the Father and saying, Father, what is there that's causing this plague to come upon me? Because at the end of the day, there is a judgment upon man that has come forth because of what man is doing. Because man was created on the sixth day. And man was created to do what? Man was created to subdue the earth. Man was created to rule over the vegetation. Man was created to be able to not do its own thing. Man was created for Abba Yahuwah's purpose. Man was not created to be a God unto himself. Man was created to be able to follow the Father, to be able to be on this earth like the Father gave us in the teaching on Shabbat, that we did this powerful teaching from Ephesians chapter 1, that we are to seek his desire. And if we are not walking in his desire, then we are in rebellion. And then we do not understand why many are sick. And so that is why Father is now bringing us into this place of saying, let us see what is going on. Go deeper. What is there that is still plaguing you? What is there that is still a plague in your body? What is there? Because you see, today, when I was going to drink something, I was going to eat my soup. And I just felt to put some olive oil in my soup, because the oil is very good. That's extra oil in our body. So I went to put a bit of olive oil. When I put the olive oil inside my soup, oh wow. I looked at it and I said, no, can't be. Am I seeing things here? It turned into a tet. It turned into a Hebrew letter of the alphabet. That I even took a photo because I sat there and I said, oh my Father, what are you showing me here? This is a Hebrew letter of the alphabet. Now praise the Father, I know his letters of the alphabet, and straight away I saw a letter of the alphabet. So Father then had me go and look up, what is that letter? What is the number of that letter? What does it stand for? What is he trying to show me? And so that was a message that he was giving me for what he was doing, for what he's saying. That was the message he was giving me. But at the same time, when I went and picked up my book to go and look at all the Hebrew alphabet, to go look at what does the tet stand for, then he said, look at what the number 6 is. The number 6 is a vav. What does the vav represent? What does the number 6 represent? So the number 6, look at what it represents. The number 6 represents the hook, the nail, the man, and it's the bridge, and it's secure, and it's to add. So Father brought us Yeshua as the one who is the hook. He was pierced with that nail. He's the one that has come, man in the flesh, to die, to join us back to the Father, that we may be secure in the Father, to build the bridge between us and the Father, to come back to the Father. And he's come to add us back where we were not in relationship with him, to bring us back into relationship with him. But if man is operating in its flesh, this is being severed in our lives. And this is why Father said, look and see. This number 6, when I created man to be able to be intimate with me. I created man in order to be able to build the bridge between me and man. Yeshua came as that bridge between us and him. We are secure by our relationship. When we have a relationship with Yeshua, we are secured in our relationship with the Father. And Yeshua has come to add us back into a broken relationship that we had. And this is the number 6. So you see, it's the Vav. And that Vav is the Wu in Abba Yahuwah's name. Yud Hey, Vav Hey. It's the Vav in Yahuwah's name. And isn't it interesting? It's that very Vav that seems to be the bone of contention with all people that do not want to accept his name as Yahuwah, because it's the Vav that is the problem. Why? Because it's the 6th letter of the alphabet that man doesn't want to submit and say it's a Wu. They want to say it's a Va. They want to say it's a Wa. And even when it's presented that it's a Wu, man does not want to accept it. Because that is the problem. Man does not want to bow. Man does not want to submit. So I have sat with people that I have explained to them. I said, let's go see the prophets. The prophets is Yirmiyahu. The Hu is a Vav. And the Vav is a Wu sound. But they will say Yahweh. And then we show them. But it should have Vav. Yeshua's name has got to be in the Father's name. And it was Yahushua. It's a Vav, and the Vav is a Wu. No, it's a Wa, it's a Va. And that is the very sound that man continues to contend with, and continue to say it's a Va, so it's Yehovah, or it's Yahweh, or it's Yahweh. And that's the bone of contention. Why? Because it's the 6th letter. They're not arguing over the Yud, they're not arguing over the Hey. They're not arguing over the other Hey. They're arguing over the Vav. Isn't it interesting? What a revelation. Because that is man. You see, in the 6th letter of the alphabet, that is man. Because man will continue to contend. Man will continue to rebel. Even when the truth is presented, man the sixth letter, man, stands against the Father. And this is what we do. This is exactly what we do. Man does not want to bow. Man does not want to be nailed to a stake like Yeshua was. Man doesn't want to be put, nailed down. Man wants to keep raising up its ugly head and constantly stand its own ground, fend for itself, stand against that which the Father wants to do, because man wants to have his own way. But we are supposed to be walking in Abba Yahuwah's desire. So if we are still continuing with our pharmakeia, where are we? Where are we? Now is the hour to start going and looking to see what is there. What is there? What rebellion could be in my life that has unleashed a plague because man is standing in the way? Man is standing in the way. And that is why I am saying we have to come to a place. We have to come to a place that we have to be able to surrender. We have to come to a place of where we need to surrender. And that is why I'm turning around and I'm saying, if there is things, because we are going to have to understand this ISIS. We are going to have to understand what ISIS stands for. ISIS is this false peace. ISIS is giving us a false hope. ISIS is giving us a false healing. ISIS is wanting to give us life through what will be eventually death. That is what we've got to understand. That is what we've got to understand. So when we are still turning to the arm of the flesh, if we are still turning to everything of the flesh, we are not allowing the Vav. We are not allowing that Vav, the one who died, the one who resurrected, the one who is supposed to come and secure us back to the Father and come back to the Garden of Eden to be able to walk in our authority. So you see, there's many people trying to walk in an authority that the Father never gave them. And this is the problem. It's the authority that comes from man. It's not the authority that comes from the Father. Because an authority that the Father gives is to those who have bowed their knee and those that are constantly overcoming. Let me tell you, every trial and every test that you go through, you gain authority in that area. But if you are still bowing your knee to the enemy, then you can raise up yourself in all the authority that you want. But it's not the Father's authority. The Father is the one. Like Yeshua when he stood up and the people said, by which authority does he speak? Because they recognized that there was the scribes did not carry the authority that he carried. Because he was the one that came humbling himself before the Father. And so when we humble ourselves before the Father is the one that lifts us up at his appointed time. We do not lift ourselves up. But you see, that's going to be the counterfeit bride to the true bride. The counterfeit bride raises itself up out of the Father's timing and is not doing it according to the Father's order. And this is what we've got to understand. Everything of what the Father is doing in the hour that we find ourselves in is that we are going to have to understand what are we bowing to. And that is why the Father is busy cleaning us up. So you see, Yahuwah created us out of the dust of the earth, and he breathed his life into us, and we became a living being. So on the sixth day, he says, he has given us every plant, and the plants were to be created to bring healing to our bodies. Interesting. The healing of the body is in the leaves of the plants. Man was created to be able to have the plants that came from the ground, the same place man came from. Man came from that dust, and now from that dust comes plants, leaves of plants, trees, everything that comes forth in order to bring us the life. But now, what does pharmakeia bring us? Everything other than that. Oh no. We will all of a sudden have shark's teeth and whatever snake venom, whatever it is. All this medicine made out of stuff that's not the Father's way or the Father's order. But now we will consume the stuff, and then we don't understand why there's so many other areas of our lives that is not going well. Because why? As that thing tries to heal one thing, it's destroying how many other things in our bodies? What else is it destroying? And that's why we have to come to the place of understanding. If the Father has put an order in place, we as His creation cannot come and bring another order. Because if we are still slaves to an Egyptian god. We are slaves to an Egyptian god called Isis. So we could have come out of Egypt in many areas of our lives. But there's areas of our lives that we are still bowing down to a slave, and we are still a slave to a god of Egypt. How many people are slaves to a god called Isis? Listen carefully. A winged bird, the wings of an eagle. Now I want you to understand the symbol of pharmakeia, the symbol of medicine. What is the symbol? It's a stick. And what does the stick have? A snake around it. A snake that has come to bring defilement, to bring beguilement, to beguile us, to deceive us, to receive a plague. To bring us life, yet to bring death. Life in the one area, death in another area. That's what we don't understand. As much as it's going to bring life in the one area, it's bringing death in another area. Because it's ordained to bring death. Because what came out of the beguilement of a snake in the garden when the wrong tree was eaten from? You see, if we eat from the wrong tree, what plague is going to come upon us? We are going to get kicked out of a garden. We are out of the Father's order. This is a hard word, beloveds. I know that this is a very, very hard word. We are listening to something right now that is not an easy word to hear. It's not easy. But that's why I say, we are in the last hours. The clock is almost at midnight. And you must understand, if we are not going to wean ourselves off that which the world is giving us, that which the Satan has beguiled us with for decades, for centuries, I tell you now, you will bow to a system that's going to bring you peace, but at the end of the day, it's brought to bring destruction. And how many have already bowed to that system for the fear that they had, and because of fear, they bowed. And it's going to present itself in different forms, in different ways, because they keep speaking. They keep speaking. Listen to what they speak, that there's another one coming, and the one that is coming, that one was a trial run, but the next one that's coming is even going to be worse than the one before. Now, if you do not have the fear of Yahuwah within you, the fear of Yahuwah, if it's not in us, we are going to bow to that which we are not to bow to. And that is why I'm saying we have to understand what the Father is revealing to us in this hour. Father is wanting us to wake up, because death is at the door. And we have to choose life. But to choose life, it means, like Esther, if I perish, I perish. But I choose life over death. I choose to obey my Father, even if it's going to mean that I have to lose my life. I need you to understand this message today very clearly, because this is the Father's word. This is what is coming out. What is coming out of my mouth now is absolutely. I just put a message together. I just wrote out a message. But the Father is now, these days, preaching his own message that's coming forth. It's no longer being orchestrated by me. It's no longer being planned by me. It's coming from him now. Because we are in a critical hour now. We are supposed to be those that are truly preparing ourselves. Now, many people are preparing themselves in many different ways. Well, we better be preparing ourselves to understand that we better understand what is going to come from the ground to be able to heal our bodies, as opposed to what is coming from what's being given to us by a winged phoenix bird with a snake attached to it that wants to beguile us like a magician into disobedience to the Father for destruction. Abba Yahuwah, I just want to thank you for your word, my Father. Father, I humble myself before you today. And I say, Father, have mercy on us, Father. Have mercy. Because this is truly one of the biggest strongholds upon your people. One that truly needs to be broken. Because the merchants of the earth have been able to present the things that they're doing, and they're making millions out of people that are enslaved to their beguilement, to their deception. And I ask you, my Father, that now you will start to shake us, so that we can start to have the fear of Yahuwah within us, to say, I cannot bow to a system that is a God that is an Egyptian God, when I have been delivered out of Egypt by my Messiah. I have to take the Vav and allow that Vav to be the hook, the security that I have, the hook, so that I can be joined to my Father, Baba Messiah, and to trust my Father that he's the one that will carry me through. My Abba, my Father, please will you help us in this area. Give us the wisdom that we need. We need to return back to the days of old, when people were knowing what herbs, what things were coming from the ground. Things that we think is weeds is herbs that brings healing in a body, so that we may be able to stand in the days ahead. I ask you, my Father, please will you help us in this area. Please will you help us. We cannot continue to be disobedient to you and harden our hearts where we are hearing, but we will not do. Now is the hour that we need to submit. or else the plague will come upon us because of our disobedience. Please will you help us, my Father? I pray this in Yeshua's name. Amen.